I thought I'd do one for the guys that are stuck working in a very small room, especially people that comment that they can't record drums because they have a very small room or they're in an apartment, so they can't be very loud. The drums are offset from the center of the room. If you put it in the center of the room, you'll get multiple reflections arriving at the mics at the same time, so it becomes one big reflection instead of several small ones. I also tried to make sure to keep the drums out of the corner as much as possible because you get two very nearby hard reflections very close to your microphones. Plus the corner itself tends to reinforce the low end, so it gives you a very boxed in feel like you're recording in a closet, and that's what we're trying to avoid. If you have a couple $100 to buy a decent audio interface and a few $100s for even a basic set of mics, then you can scrounge up an extra $100 for some portable acoustic treatment. As soon as you're done, you can pack them away in whatever closet you want. I built 4 of these in a single batch, but I've only set up 3 of them here, basically wherever the drums are closest to a boundary, to try and make these walls as invisible, acoustically speaking, as possible. For a room this small, I'd highly recommend applying Sonics or RLX directly to the ceiling above the drum set. I'm not going to do that here. For the overheads, I'm using a pair of Samson CO2s in ORTF configuration. I have better mics on hand, but these are inexpensive and they do the job. I'm setting these as close to my head as possible to get my perspective on the drums, and it helps give a more realistic drum image. Also, it keeps the overheads away from the ceiling as much as possible, which is important if you have an untreated ceiling like we do in this case. On the bass drum, I'm using the ubiquitous D112. I should also take this moment to note that I make my own mic cables, which is another good way to save money. Since I didn't want to haul in my computer and everything that goes with it, I dusted off the old ADAT. You might be wondering why I don't mic each drum individually. For starters, I'm trying to be budget-minded for beginners. And second of all, refer back to the size of the room. We have multiple reflections coming back in a very short period of time. Multi-miking the drums exaggerates this issue. Illustrated is the sound of each drum arriving at every mic in the set at a slightly different time. In actuality, the sound comes from the entire drum and not just the center of the batter head. But we can see that the sound from every drum bleeds into every mic, which acts as short reflections and exaggerates the issues of having a small room. You can time align each individual drum mic to the overheads, but not to each other, so you can never get rid of the problem entirely. You might think getting each mic will get rid of this problem, and it does to an extent. There will always be instances where multiple mics are open at the same time, so then you get that bleed sometimes and not others. I'm not against multi-miking, and I do it all the time, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm using just 3 mics for this. I also feel like it's harder for beginners to get a good sound with multi-miking.